To our conversation with the superintendent of the Homer Center School District. He is Curtis Whitesel, who joins us, and our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Kurt, good morning.
Good morning, Todd. How are you?
Wonderful, and good to have you with us here today as we look forward to the start of the school year, and it's quite the battle making this thing happen, isn't it?
It really is. It just changes daily. New guidelines, new recommendations, and then taking them back and forth to the board to get approvals. It's just never ending.
Yeah, it really is, and that's demonstrated by what's going on in Harrisburg this week. In fact, the state is again coming up with new guidelines, and sometimes we wonder, are these suggestions, are they orders? It's really hard to tell sometimes.
It's very hard, and then if you choose to ignore them and do something different, then you could be liable later on for ignoring what they're saying are guidelines or recommendations. I think it would be easier if they would just say, this is the way it is, you do it this way, period, and take the onus off the local district and put it on the state. I think it would make life a lot easier for all of us.
That's what the PIAA is struggling with right now, that liability issue. It's a big one, and school districts find themselves in a really, really tough place. So let's talk about what Homer Center is doing. I know school board meets tonight. What's it look like for the start of the school year?
We are currently in a full in-person green model is what we call it, which provides you with three options. You can attend school in person, obviously using face coverings all day, distancing when possible, following those guidelines. If you're not comfortable with that, you can stay home and learn learning from home synchronously. Students following the normal class schedule and attend their Homer Center classes through Google Meets. And then if they choose not to do that, they can do asynchronous learning, and a student may enroll in the Homer Center Academy of Choice and take their classes that way.
Yeah, and of course, families had a taste of what it was like for online learning, and there's really a difference that I'm sure you learned in the spring about how an elementary student is going to approach this and the capabilities that they have and their families to help them, as opposed to a high school kid.
Oh my, yeah, it very much so. And part of the problem, you get into some of the upper level classes in the high school, foreign languages, upper level math, things like that. There are a lot of parents that just can't help with those subjects. It's been a long time since they had them in school. They just don't remember the foreign language or the advanced algebras and calcs and things like that. So it makes it difficult for the parents to jump in and help. And then the younger kids, just keeping them, focused and motivated to stay on the computer during the day. It's easier, I think, to get your instruction from an in-person teacher, especially at a younger age. But their minds start to wander, and they just aren't as interested online as they are in person.
Yeah, well, that in-person element is so important, especially for kids in the elementary grades. And I know that you and everybody else would prefer that it be just like it was in every other year until this year, but that's not going to be the case. In person at the school, what does it look like in terms of students wearing masks, physically distancing, using the cafeteria, the auditorium, getting together for classwork? There's a lot that has to be worked out there.
Oh my, there's a ton. Looking at lunch, we'll be using both the cafeteria and the gymnasium. That way we can certainly social distance and get to 6 feet. We'll be using our LGI, or large group instruction room, for groups to meet, which is one of our larger rooms with more seats, so you can spread out there. Students in class will be wearing masks full time. They are allotted 10 minutes mask relief time. When that happens, we will certainly distance them 6 feet apart. But everybody's going to need to take a breather, so when that happens, we'll have designated times for that. Some of the smaller classes will be able to get to 6 feet pretty easily. Some of our larger classes, we're going to try our best. Sometimes it'll be between 4 or 5, maybe 6 feet. But when that's happening and occurring, definitely mask on full time, and just try and get through the day the best as possible. Maybe take our minds off the facial coverings and just stay engaged in what's going on in the classroom. But that's going to be the difficult part, not only for the students but for the teachers wearing face coverings all day. It is what it is. We're going to have to. It's the new norm, and we're going to have to have to grow into it. But it's going to take a while to get used to. That's for sure.
It puts a lot of pressure on the cleaning staff too, doesn't it?
Oh my. We've had meetings already with our custodians of what the high touch areas are going to be and the high clean areas. Light switches, door handles, stuff that you probably don't hit daily or going to have to be hit daily. All flat surfaces, high traffic areas, bathrooms, everything that maybe doesn't get a daily cleaning, but possibly a weekly cleaning is now going to go on the checklist for daily cleans.
As we think about Homer Center's situation and the various circumstances of other school districts, are you finding you have different challenges than, say, a United, a Marion Center, a Penns Manor?
I don't know. Probably our biggest challenge for some of our rural schools is getting internet service or Wi-Fi to all of our students. That continues to be a challenge. We still have areas in the Homer Center School District that there's no cell service, let alone getting internet service, and that makes it difficult. So we're trying to overcome those obstacles, maybe putting out some Wi-Fi stations in those areas, and maybe to find a way that kids can at least get to those places if we have to go online and be able to remote in. That's probably our biggest obstacle, and I know United faces that same thing. There's just high areas where there's just no capabilities of getting online, so that's one of our difficulties. But other than that, we're facing pretty much the same problems. Most of our people, most of our families want to come back. There's a percentage that just don't feel safe coming back, and they're choosing other options. But I think most of the districts, not just in Indiana, Armstrong County, but the whole way across the state, are facing the same things.
Curtis Whitesel with us, the superintendent of the Homer Center School District. We're talking about the start of school, of course, and a lot of the questions sound like the same questions that we ask other school superintendents through this series of conversations. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you about, because it's come up in other districts, is the comfortability of your faculty in coming back. We've heard reports that older members of the faculty a little bit more wary, a little bit more cautious than younger people who don't have health issues that would be matching up with some of the other folks, some of your older faculty members. What's it like at Homer Center? What have you heard?
About the same thing as every district. We do have a contingent of teachers that just do not feel 100% safe, and they will be staying in their classrooms the majority of the day. Certainly social distancing from the kids and wearing masks. We have a couple of teachers that are just fine with it. Hey, let's go. Let's get the ball rolling and get back. But there is concern. There's concern not only with the teachers, but with our custodians, with our lunch people, our administrators, our secretarial staff, our paras. Everybody has concern, and we're going to do our best to manage those concerns and stay as safe as possible. But with this virus, we all know that it is just highly contagious, and everybody's pretty much susceptible to it, and we're just going to have to hopefully stay as healthy as possible and cross the bridge if we have an outbreak and get it figured out.
Well, those emergency procedures certainly got tested last spring when all of a sudden it seemed like in the course of a day, you found out that no school tomorrow here at the building, but we're having school at home. Those emergency plans are extremely important. To develop it for me from that point in last spring to the point at which you are now. How many changes have there been? How comfortable are you with it now as opposed to what you were facing earlier in this year?
It's a complete 180. We've had high trainings on Google and Google Classrooms and Google Meets. Our teachers are prepared now, a lot more prepared than they were March 13th when it all was shut down. We spent time over the summer doing professional development. We continue to offer professional development. Our teachers are building their classes online. We're going to have camera capabilities, and we're going to be recording our lessons daily now, even to start, just for the kids that do not want to come into class, that are going to be following their schedule from home. So we have increased that capability. Our technology has increased immensely. We are able to go one-to-one, providing every student with a computer to take home and use as their own. And because you just never know. You get a call in the evening that you have 5, 6, 8 teachers all of a sudden that are showing symptoms, 10, 15 kids. You have no choice that night but to shut it down for the next day. But we need to continue to remote learn and provide an educational atmosphere for our students. So we took the time and put in the money and the energy to be better prepared than we were March 13th.
You mentioned synchronous learning a couple of moments ago. Is asynchronous learning a part of this whole mix too?
Yes, it is. Everything will be recorded and archived for students that can't be there in person and can't be there in real time. They'll have the ability to find the archived instructional lesson for the day and use that as their learning tool.
And tonight's school board meeting, I'm sure that everybody has great interest in it. Give us a preview of what you anticipate saying to the board tonight.
I anticipate saying that we continue in the green model, but I know that could change. There is some concern on the board. Some of our local districts around us have changed to a hybrid model to start, at least for the first several weeks. I think United and Penns Manor are the only two that are continuing in green. I believe everybody else is in some sort of hybrid model. So that could easily change, and we could move into a hybrid model this evening, which we're capable of doing and prepared to do. My recommendation right now would be to stay in green and come back on the 31st full-time with students. Also, there could be a change in the start date. There's been some talk of moving the start date back to the 8th, which several districts in the county have done. We currently moved from our earlier date to the 31st to match up with the ICTC, but there's also some thoughts on the board. Why don't we just move it to the 8th to match 3 or 4 of the other districts in the county, and we'll all be on pretty much a similar calendar, and that gives us another week to get even more prepared than we currently are. So there could be a variety of things happen tonight, Todd. It's a wait and see, and we'll discuss it. We'll discuss it thoroughly, and we'll do what's best for the Homer Center School District.
Absolutely. And, of course, we're keeping an eye on the PIAA. Their meeting is tomorrow. The big rally is in Harrisburg today from that group that wants to make sure we're playing, and I'm sure very anxious along Wildcat Lane, too, right?
Oh, my. Yes, very anxious, but optimistic and cautiously optimistic at the same time. We go into this thing. We've all played tackle football. There's no way around it. If there's somebody that has it on a team, they're going to spread it to the team through bodily fluids and things like that. And if one team gets a case of it and has to quarantine, that could change everyone's schedule. So if we get the go-ahead from PIAA, I just think we could have a mixed bag of schedules this year of who we play, when we play, and if we can get all of our games in. I'm supporting playing right now. I think our kids deserve the opportunity. I feel awful for the seniors last year that lost their opportunity in the spring for track and field and for baseball. What a horrible way to go out. So I think our seniors this year deserve the opportunity to at least get some games under their belt. Whether they can complete a full season or not, I don't know, between football and volleyball. But I hope they get an opportunity to play a few games. We're
watching tonight. Kurt Whitesel, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much, Todd. You take care.
You too. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
It's the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160. AM 1160. AM